Today, I'm not listing new inventory. I'm doing something just as important. I'm taking you with me to my antique booth for a post-Christmas reset. If you're wondering how this fits into selling on Etsy, well, this booth is actually a key part of my Etsy inventory process. It's not a separate business. It's the final step in how I manage inventory that doesn't move online. Every vintage seller eventually has inventory that just sits, tying up space and tying up cash. When an item has run its course on Etsy, this is where it goes. In this video, I'm going to show you my booth both before and after the little reset that I did right after Christmas. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I decide what gets sent to the booth, how I price it, and how this exit strategy frees up cash so my Etsy shop can stay fresh and profitable. So let me take you with me. This reset happened during our trip to Michigan for Christmas. Surprise, I am in Michigan and I am on my way to my antique booth to reset it for winter and spring, get rid of all the Christmas stuff and put out winter and spring merchandise. We have been in Michigan now for 9 days, and today is only the second time I've seen the sun. So we are anxious to get back to Florida, but we are looking forward to a really fun Christmas with our children and our grandchildren. Well, I am on my way, like I said, over to Nashville, Michigan, to 66 Unique Antiques to work on my antique booth. Now, I have been in this booth for a little over 2 years. I started there at the beginning of December in 2023. So this was my third Christmas season there. Now, it's a great antique mall. The thing that I most like about it is it's all antiques and vintage. There are no booths in there with like modern replica kind of decor. I call it Hobby Lobby booths. Nothing against Hobby Lobby, but it has its place, and vintage malls I think have their place as well. So I love it. I love to shop there even before I got a booth there. So my booth is up on the second floor, and my rent is cheaper than it would be on the first floor. And I will tell you that in the months that I've been there, and it's about 25 months now, I have always made my rent, which is great because I don't put as much effort into it as I probably should. My antique booth falls in my inventory cycle here. I purchase inventory, source my inventory with my Etsy shop in mind. Let me explain to you my business flow and where my booth falls into my business. When I source merchandise, I source for Etsy. And Etsy is my first line of listing. I seldom ever source anything to specifically put into my antique booth. So my inventory will stay in my Etsy shop. Hopefully I will sell it. Probably 70 or 80% I do sell. And then that 20 to 30% that doesn't sell, after I've tried running it on sale, I will pull it out and either use it in a vignette bundle or I will take it to my booth. Now, in my booth, I do not overprice my items at all. In fact, I'm okay with just doubling my money or just getting my money out of an item. So, for instance, I have a few wedding cake toppers that are not quite the style that people like to buy, so I'm taking them to my booth today for spring. Whereas in my Etsy shop, I would have those priced between $20 and $24. In my booth, I'm pricing them at $8. I probably have $4 into each one of them. And like I say, as long as I get my money back out of them and I have enough to pay my rent and have a little bit left over. This year I had a sweet little Christmas club savings, that because I don't cash out of my booth until December. I let it ride all year, and I cash out in December, and that's my Christmas money. So I will leave my stuff in my booth for quite a while. It's a good size booth, and I have a lot of display capability. You will see when I show you the pictures, I have a huge display fixture right in the middle of my booth. That is a fixture that I actually bought from Hobby Lobby. It was a bugger to take apart in Florida, transport to Michigan, and put back together over at 66 Unique Antiques. But I figured that if I ever get done with it, I'll mark it down to a price that one of the other vendors in the mall cannot resist, and I won't ever have to move it again. That's my plan, hopefully, for someday. So I basically run 40 to 50% off sales several times a year just to move merchandise through my booth. And like I say, I usually can get my money back out of something, but there are always a few things that don't sell, and those things just get redonated back to a thrift store. But there's not a lot at all. So I have never shared my antique booth on my channel because it's not my main thing. My channel is about Etsy and doing Etsy and having an Etsy business and how to do Etsy and how to learn about vintage decor items in order to sell on Etsy. But I thought I would sprinkle in this antique booth video for you because I know a lot of you have asked me questions about it. I do my best to create compelling displays of the merchandise, but it's not as beautiful as I'm sure many antique booths that you have seen, or probably antique booths that you have had yourself. So that's why I've never really shared it before. But I thought today, since I am going over there and I am going to have a very distinct before and after video to be able to show you, or just snapshots, this might be a good day. And since the sun was shining, I thought, wow, I could get some video in the car talking about my booth on the way over there. Now, this antique mall, 66 Unique Antiques, is in an old two-story building in Nashville, Michigan, and it's owned by a couple named Mike and Amber, and they are the most wonderful, positive people in the whole world. I absolutely love them. I love working with them. Now, they do have their own channel as well on YouTube, and I will link that down in the description because I would like you to check out his videos. I suppose these steps, and there are 24 of them, probably deter a few people who have problems going up and down steps from going to the upstairs part of the store. Hence, probably the reason my rent is cheaper on the second floor than it would be on the first. So this is the before of my booth. This is the front left of my booth, and then the left side, you can see inside those cubicles, they're looking pretty empty. Everything was looking just kind of thrown around, and so I really wanted to get rid of all those bags of ornaments that were left on that center display. So I took some pictures, and then I went to work getting things reorganized, moving stuff around. And here is the booth completed. You can see I put those cat's meows that I got on my trip to Florida thrifting this fall in my booth, and I have totally revamped this center display with lots of things that are either new that I just took over there or things that I moved around. Still have my teapots and teacup candles there on that same display. I've moved the Wade Whimsies. I moved them all around. Those are the same Wade Whimsies I sell in my Etsy store. And you'll notice what I've tried to do is put some of this merchandise that is in this white display on little risers so that I've got some height
and people can actually see all the merchandise that's back in those little cubbies as they're walking around. And I debated whether or not to leave the Carrera knives, but I left what little I have there for now. And here is another shot looking towards the back wall. I took some really pretty lamps over there. I'm sure those will sell really quickly. I have candles and candlesticks up on the front right of the booth. And then on the right side interior of the booth, I left a lot of metals over there. Now, metals are not selling in the booth like they're selling in Etsy right now. I could hardly keep them in stock. I also have some really pretty linens over there, hand embroidered linens that I am showing. And here is the completed booth. And we'll just take a quick look around this center display. I try to put like merchandise together, color coordinate, go by theme like swans, items with like finishes, pottery items together. Here I've got a few Delft or Delft style items together, a few hand embroidered things. And as you can see, I just try not to overstock that center display. One way you can sell vintage candles is by bundling them together like I have done and put them in the basket there. I sell quite a few vintage candles. I just wrap paper around the bottom and price them that way, and I do sell quite a few from my booth, but I've got them displayed here with my candlestick holders. So if you want a candlestick holder, here's some candles to go with it. I am allowed to have my sign in the back with a QR code to my Etsy shop. The antique store owners are very supportive of the fact that I also have an Etsy shop. So, and I do have that nice rug in the middle to kind of center everything. But this is the finished product. This is what it looks like, and it is all set until spring.
So that's a wrap. It only took me a couple of hours to get all the Christmas merchandise put away, all of the shelving and all the merchandise dusted off, and a pretty good sized group of new merchandise put out for spring. Now, I had been running a 40% off sale for the last 2 weeks. I took that off. I'll probably run like 40 or 50% off, maybe February or March. I like to do it about once every 3 months just to clear out stuff that otherwise is not going to sell. And, well, I hope you enjoyed seeing the before and after of my booth. Like I say, I don't talk about my booth a lot on this channel because it's really an Etsy focused channel, but many of you have asked about my booth and wondered, and so that's probably about all you'll see of it, because once we go back to Florida, I really don't have too much to do with it until May. My granddaughter, whom I have trained, she will be taking care of the booth for me when I'm gone. I have a couple of shelves in the basement at home full of merchandise that's already priced, ready for her to bring over. She has a really, I think, a good sense of style. She likes to put the merchandise out, and she's pretty good at it. And so she's 18. She has her own car, so she can travel the 10 miles over to the antique mall once in a while and help her old granny out. And of course, I share some of the proceeds of the booth with her. Thanks for coming along today. You can see out the window, there's still a little bit of snow left. It's been sunny today, and it actually was pretty warm. I say warm like in the 40s a couple days ago, and it rained a lot and melted a lot of the snow. So here's hoping that the snow will stay gone until after the 27th, when we are heading back to Florida. And I don't know if I'll get this up before I get back to Florida or not. My equipment here in Michigan is pretty limited. I have my good computer in Florida, so I don't know if I can process this video while I'm here. I will try. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. I don't know. Anyways, do you have a booth? If you do, please put the location of it down in the comments. It'd be interesting to see just exactly where we are all located at. Thanks for riding along today and taking a look at my booth, and I'll see you next time.